In the early 70s, downtown Long Beach, California was a decidedly unpleasant place. Near the port of Los Angeles, it was full of porn movie houses, rough bars, and boarded-up buildings. But in 1975, a truly astonishing metamorphosis began, all due to an expat British travel agent that was a huge auto racing fan, Chris Pook. He convinced the city managers he could stage a street race through the city and waterfront, and he pulled it off, with Brian Redmond winning the first ever Long Beach Grand Prix, then a Formula 5000 race. Pook then convinced the city this could be an international event and put Long Beach on the map. And in 1976, the event hosted its first Formula One race. It was mildly successful, and Pook needed something truly special to take it to the next level. Well, in 1977, he got exactly that in the form of an Italian-American racing hero named Mario Andretti. Andretti avoided a multi-car first-lap shunt and then proceeded to outduel Formula One stars Niki Lauda and Jody Scheckter to become the first American to win an F1 race on home soil. In doing so, the news flashed across the country. Andretti became a legend, and Chris Pook's Long Beach Grand Prix became an A-list, star-studded fixture on the international racing calendar. Tonight, the legendary venue adds to its list of great achievements as it hosts the penultimate round of Season 2 of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Series presented by 3P Logistics and Final Turn Motorsports. Hi folks, I'm Greg Creamer and welcome to Long Beach. Kyle Heyer joins me as always. And Kyle, when it comes to street circuits, this one is legendary for a variety of reasons.
As far as street circuits go, it's all about the history, it's all about the location, it's all about the challenge that this racetrack poses. And I don't think there's any street circuit, at least stateside, that drivers want to win at more. It is absolutely spectacular, right on the coast of the Pacific Ocean. And Greg, this is going to be a blast tonight. 2 25-minute races with some Spec Miata racing. Tight confines here at Long Beach. It's going to be a blast.
It's going to be awesome. It's the big IndyCar Long Beach Grand Prix, the Roar by the Shore. But I think this could be even more exciting in terms of outright racing. And this track is surprisingly raceable and also has some unique challenges. It's gone through a lot of different layouts over the years. This one has been around now for quite some time. And, of course, that big blast down Shoreline Drive. Turn 1, always brutally challenging. That wind around the fountain place. But the big thing about this track, Kyle, is you think of turn 5, turn 6, turn 8, even 9. Every time you turn into one of those corners, you're going up over the camber of the road. So you have a little bit of what feels like banking, but the minute you crown at the apex, it all falls away. And if you overshoot it, looming on the outside are big, nasty, hard, heavy K-rails.
Yeah, no track limits to worry about here today, because if you find the limit, you're going to feel it and you're going to hear it, and it's going to be the end of your day. There are 13 drivers that will be taking on our 2 25-minute races tonight. And look at the sights here in iRacing, Greg. We get to go racing in this simulator, and for a lot of us, this is a pipe dream to race on this circuit, but iRacing has laser scanned it, and you can go compete on it now. And what a spectacular facility. I love this place because it's got a lot of high-speed sections. It's got some elevation change, as we can see on the run down to turn number 8, just slightly, but it's enough. And you mentioned the camber of the road as well. It adds an extra challenge as you try to turn in, especially at corners like turn 11. This corner is famous around the world for the challenge it poses. It is incredibly tight.
It is super tight, and everybody at some point thinks, well, I can straight line to the apex and get underneath that guy, but that guy already has his eyes up and is turning in. And, one of the things, that's a really quick way to go around the corner we just saw there. If you're running by yourself, good for qualifying, not so much when there's somebody right behind you in a race. And that is one of the great things that makes this such an interesting place. And this blast down Shoreline and the run from 8 to 9, it's fast. For a street course, this has a lot of serious speed to it. A lot of the areas are nice and wide. It just offers up so much. And as a result, you see some absolutely great racing. And we're seeing some pretty impressive stuff in qualifying, Kyle. Looking at the current order, Josh Soto up top in the number 77. But look at the margins behind him and just how tight things are. I mean, right now, the top 6 are covered by half a second. And, of course, for all the folks that have been with us already through these first 2 seasons are looking at that going, where's Mr. Burkhardt?
Yeah, our championship leader is not here this week, and a notable absence, absolutely, but as far as the championship is concerned, he's pretty far ahead. But there are now prizes up for grabs, Greg, as we make our way through the season, and having Morgan Burkhardt away doesn't change eligibility there. He's not eligible for those prizes, but it still offers you the opportunity to go up and win a race when Morgan isn't here. So Soto might finally have a chance to do such a thing, and Beans Forster is back with us again this week, giving it his all, running second right now.
Yeah, and he's obviously shown some great pace. Nicholas Rice-Puto has been fast all season long. The scrappy schooler, I call him, Giancarlo Schooler, always fun to watch. He's going to be really fun to watch around here. Caleb Patria, who's been so good this year, Kyle, and then last weekend at Sonoma had an absolutely horrible weekend. And as I talk about Ray, the announcer's curse, as I mentioned his name, he wrecks here. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then Jordan Ricks-Agredi, who has really been on form, particularly in the last 3 races, really showing some great form, and he's also shown some amazing judgment out there when he's given up a line to avoid a wreck, taking somebody else out or somebody with an over-optimistic move, just showing great track awareness. And we have a guy, Mitchell Welker, here, the number 76 and 7th spot right now. I'm not sure that we've seen him before, at least this season, and doing a nice job right up into the top 10.
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet this season. I'm familiar with Mitch. I've seen him around plenty of times here on Sim TV, at least back in the old days. We used to broadcast a whole bunch of road racing and oval racing. Mitch spends most of his time in the sim running the iRacing IndyCar. So this is definitely a big step down in power and downforce and all of the above. But he should be fun to watch there in that number 76 MX-5. And as we were talking, like Nicholas Rice-Puto jumped to the top of the board and now has provisional pole by a 10th and a half.
Yeah, that's about as big a margin as we've seen from first to second. Right before he did that, the margin from second to third was 67 one-thousandths of a second. So this group is really, really stacked up in the front end for sure. Having looked there at Wayne Buttermore, who's got one of the prettier graphic packages on his car. He's had some bad luck at races this year. Hopefully he'll be able to have a good one here. He certainly has earned it. Also have Cord Schmidt, of course, the founder of Full Send Sims, who is racing here right now, sitting in the 9th spot in qualifying. And he's the one who came up with the idea of Full Send Sims, being a racer at heart and having a tremendous amount of background in military simulation, from tank sims to armored personnel carrier sims and the like, and decided to put all that knowledge into building racing sims. And his are arguably some of the absolute best. There's no question about that. And that's just great. And I also want to take an opportunity here, as qualifying is just wrapped up, to say a big thank you as well to Rob Greenwood, who's the owner of Final Turn Motorsports, who's one of our presenting sponsors, a full-service prep shop with trackside support, front-running chassis builder, partnered with the best engine builders in the Spec Miata class, and Frank Rodriguez, owner of 3P Logistics, our other presenting sponsor, race car storage, maintenance, repair, transportation, and logistical support for you, your family, and your race car. They'll do it all if you need them to, including booking flights, getting your lodging set, and having you ready to go, and even setting up group gatherings. So a big thank you to Rob and Frank and their companies, Final Turn and 3P Logistics.
The field getting set to go racing for the first of 2 25-minute races here in just a moment's time. Look at the sights of Long Beach Street Circuit. And, of course, despite it being virtual in form, it still has all the beauty that the real track has. I love that top-down shot there with the fountain, Greg.
I do, too. And to me, even more iconic to me than the fountain is the shadows of the palm trees through the fountain area. When I've been announcing racing there, that shot just jumps at me. The fountain is the fountain. It's beautiful, but every time the camera cuts and you see those palm trees out there, to me it's like, that's Long Beach. And earlier we had a shot of, just this place has given me some of my greatest memories in motorsports. We had a shot, that high shot, and the top of the Hyatt there, and I had the pleasure in the late 90s to do a stand-up for Speed Vision with David Hobbs on top of the Hyatt for a Trans Am race we were doing there. That is a memory that will stick with me forever.
Well, let's roll through our starting lineup, Greg. Let's kick it off.
It's ready to go, and on pole, Nicholas Rice-Puto. What a great lap in his number 5, joined by Joshua Soto in the 77, who led most of that session.
Beans Forster starts in the second row. Giancarlo Schooler in the number 111. Caleb Patry, Rick Singrini, Mitchell Welker, Max Bankin, Cord Schmidt, Andrew Wozencroft, Rich Green, Jim Friedhofer, and Wayne Buttermore. That is your starting lineup. They're already about ready to go racing. Short pace lap here at Long Beach. As we started on the back straightaway, Greg, here we go.
They waste no time, so here we are. And that first corner can be such a diabolical spot. Everybody needs to be smart. Survive that first corner. We're green! From the inside, Rice-Puto. Nose is a little bit ahead, but Soto right on his right shoulder, right there as well. And it's going to be interesting because that shorter line around might give Soto a little bit of an edge in terms of the car nosing ahead. And but here we go, Rice-Puto now late on the brakes, car squirming under braking, side by side through this first turn so far. Ooh! Really wide there. I think that was the 80 of Wozencroft, but he made it through. So far, so good, Kyle.
That was a big moment there for Wozencroft, and we saw Rick Singrini all off kilter as well in the braking zone for the first corner. Now they head through turns 3 and 4, and they're still side by side. This time it's the 998 of Patry on the outside of Mitchell Welker. Everyone avoids the tire barriers so far, and we're getting to some of the higher speed sections here, Greg. 90-degree turns, and you're just aiming at the wall and waiting for the understeer to carry you just past it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's, part of that is you crown the road, like right there. You get down to the bottom here, you're going to get a little bit of that compression, and then it falls away when you cross that crown right at the apex. Now, this blast down into one of the good overtaking areas, down into turn 9, but you really have to get a huge drive out of 8, and I don't think that Beans has that level of drive at this stage, and it's early to try and force anything. Wisely lets Rice-Puto go unencumbered down into that turn. Soto right there in second, but beats Forster. He got a really good start, jumping up and around Soto up into second, and Giancarlo Schooler, a nice move up into fourth.
And look, here comes Soto to the inside. Got a good drive out of turn number 11. You never feels like you can get a good run out of there no matter what you do. It always feels like you're leaving something on the table, but so far, Rice-Puto leads. Now with Morgan Burkhardt gone, does this open the opportunity for some more aggression, knowing that maybe the driver out front isn't as untouchable as Morgan can be sometimes, but look at Soto down the inside.
Absolutely making the move, and he's got position. Bean's going to try and pitch him around. Oh, that was close. But again, Soto with some respect, but now a problem. Contact. Mitch Welker, big impact with the wall. Didn't quite spot what car it was that he got collected with. Let's see if we can figure it out.
Oh,
or did he just got the wall, and then he got Cord Schmidt. Cord had nowhere to go. Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the classic way to end a race at Long Beach, at least in iRacing. I've done this a million times. Just missed the apex. He knew it too, but once you've committed, you just can't get slowed down.
Yeah, and then you could just see the car suddenly jump when Cord got into the back of him. So big damage. Welker's going to limp it around, but that car is not going to be healthy. Look at that mess.
That's
what a shame, because he had shown some real speed qualifying, Kyle.
Yeah, sure did. But again, first couple laps, tires aren't up to temp either. Didn't get a lot of opportunity to warm up the tires either.
Yeah.
And maybe just overheated. The brakes there down into turn number 1. And Rice-Puto, his advantage is 1.4 seconds. The battle for second is just as fierce as the one for the top.
Yeah, it really is. Forster, Soto, absolutely hammer and tong here. Oh, look at that move by Patry. Squared up beautifully out of the hairpin and got down underneath Giancarlo Schooler. So now it's an absolute drag race here, and they're going to be punching a pretty nice hole in the air. And this Shoreline Boulevard, quote-unquote, straight is a long one. And I thought that maybe we could see Rick Singrini get a little bit better toe than he did. Nothing really playing out here at this point. Watch Soto right there behind Forster. Elects not to do anything. And same for Patry, Schooler, and Rick Singrini did close up. Oh! I think that was Patry Grant's on the wall. Boy, he has just had a rough day already here with the shunt and qualifying.
And he had a rough couple of rounds after battling for the championship lead. It's just been one thing after the other, and he nailed that wall pretty well with the right side. You can see the damage on the right rear corner especially.
I think he just clipped the wall on turn in there as well for turn number 4.
Yeah, that's what it was. Just turned in and just nudged it, and it's again the damage is going to be felt mostly in the steering. But Schooler hasn't been able to do much with it just yet. Rick Cingrani has run them both down as they scrap for position.
Well, you know, sometimes you bang off a wall and suddenly the car's magic. I have actually seen that happen on a couple of occasions. Not often, admittedly, but on board with Rick Cingrani and deep on the brakes. Look at Schooler's car dancing, working really hard. Now down into that tricky last complex of corners, turn 10, and then set up for 11. And the thing is, a little tap there as Rick Cingrani just tapped the back of Giancarlo Schooler, and you can see it upset Giancarlo's car a little bit. If there's nobody behind you in that turn, you open it up on the entry quite a bit so you really get the car turned so you can get to throttle early and get a launch done here. But if there's somebody right behind you, they're just going to jam themselves down, up and underneath, and at best you'll be way slow out of the corner and past, and at worst they'll both be slow out of the corner.
What helps with these cars is Welker pulls out of the way for the lead lap cars. What helps with these things is that they're pretty short wheelbase. Getting a long IndyCar or Formula One car through here is a real challenge. So that will help the turn 11 situation. But everywhere else, you got to be aggressive, and the leader scrapes the wall at the exit of 4 there. That's Rice Puto.
Pushing the envelope here, and as you pointed out earlier, the track limits here are very clearly defined, and if you exceed them, you pay a pretty serious price, sometimes even a savage price. You were talking about getting cars through that hairpin. You know, back in the kart IndyCar era, those cars, well, even before then, back in the in the very early era, when they started racing Indy cars there after Formula One, they changed it up. Those cars had a fair amount of turbo lag, Kyle, and watching those cars, the drivers had to time it coming out of that hairpin to go to throttle, because if they gave the throttle too soon, they just spool up and slam the wall. And if they got it just right but waited a little bit too much, then the car would snap sideways suddenly, and they'd just tag the wall with the back of the car. That was part of the art of getting around this place. And in a Trans Am race, I remember Robbie Gordon beat the gun of Trans Am, Scott Sharp, by using off-road driving skills to get his big Ford Mustang to rotate through that corner, and used it to huge effect. So there's lots of little mystique to this place, and a lot of it stems from figuring out how to drive the place in whatever car you're in.
And it has a ton of bumps and real big curbs as well in a couple areas.
Yes, it does.
That'll rattle your teeth out here. In iRacing, this is actually unique in that it's the only track in iRacing that has all of its curbing represented fully in 3D in terms of the physics and its appearance. And what I mean by that is all the ripple curbing, they have an effect on it to make it feel three-dimensional, but here at Long Beach, all of the curbs that should have dimension to them do, and they're very sharp, and they are a jolt to the steering, especially those with direct drive equipment like you'd find in a full send sim. And so Court in particular feeling all the details of the road here.
Yeah, and he must have felt that hit too when he had nowhere to go. That's a real shame, obviously, but it certainly provides fascinating racing. And as for cars like this that are, a little underpowered by design, but really, really sweet handling and huge momentum cars, it's just such a phenomenal challenge, because you can't give it up a little bit here and know you've got a boatload of power in the engine compartment to just drive through. And you can see the focus in Bean's eyes. We see that focus at other tracks, but here it's unrelenting, isn't it, Kyle?
It really is. And this is a long race for this track. 25 minutes in a Spec Miata. You're really leaning on the tires in a bunch of areas. And right here, you see Forster chasing Rice Puto over to the left side here as they head down to turn number 1. He's going to try to squeeze up the inside. Can't do it. Rice Puto covers, and he swings to the right for the outside move.
And now Bean's going to come back and go late in the brakes, gets Rice Puto wide. Rice Puto has to check up. That was a beautiful job. Look at Soto coming up on the inside of Rice Puto into the fountain, and immediately went, boy, if I keep my nose there, we are going to come together. And Rice Puto just easing out of that as well. In a great battle here. Wozencroft and the 89 of Friedhofer having a great, or is that Bankin?
Bankin.
Having a great scrap as well. But two beautiful things happening in that run up front down into that first turn, I think. One, Forrester's counter move when Pudo defended, and Beans just went back to the other side. And so Pudo said, all right, I can ease over, and Beans immediately pounced. But then the judgment by Soto when he got his nose up underneath when Pudo got offline to go, not here, this is bad, and to clear out. That was some great driving by really all three of them.
It was great driving, and the other thing to consider for Soto is if they spent another corner side by side, it would let Forster get away. So if he can make the pass in a cleaner way, we've got 15 minutes left, so you've got time to plan your attack per se, as Wozencroft has gotten around Bankin for 7th place.
You know, the other thing I'm wondering about Pudo is, that car was moving around. He was sliding a lot early, which obviously is going to take its toll on tires. But with those two little bits of contact, if he did knock the toe out just a little bit, that'll not further degrade, but rush the degradation of the tires because they're not quite aligned. And he might be in for a bit of a struggle here, particularly basically these last 10 minutes.
Such a fun section of racetrack to sling through here. And Forster's on it today. Rich Green has had a challenge in the number 22. Let's see what has happened to him. Not sure. He might have just come down pit lane on his own, but was there contact on this lap? Let's go back and see if we can find it. I can't find it.
There's a huge wrinkle on the back, so we definitely did.
Yeah.
But where? Yeah.
Yep. Couldn't find it, so we'll jump back up front.
Well, we know that the heavy metal fan. Oh, Forster gets the wall. Boy, I'll tell you, this track, like I said, when you have to flow all that speed through the apexes and roll the corner because you don't have the power, and if you're going to stay in front or you're going to run somebody down, you have got to use every conceivable inch of track and open those corners up so much, Kyle. And these guys are darn good sim racers, and they're kissing that wall pretty frequently.
Yeah, and Forster just brushed it, and you can get away with the brush a couple of times here, but the big miscalculations will catch you. We saw that with Mitchell Welker at turn number 1. Just miscalculated the braking point, missed it by 10 feet, but there's not 10 feet of extra room on the exit to save yourself like there is at many tracks.
I really thought you were going to go with missed it by that much.
I likened an incident at VIR last week to you missed your braking zone by a foot and then you missed the apex by a mile, and that was referring to braking up into turn 14 because the track drops away and corners. So if you make a mistake, you feel it all the way through. Oh, Pudo really hot, and he's going to give up some more time here. And Soto perhaps feeling pressure to get by him as Forster puts some distance on both of them.
I think you just brought up the key point here is that now Joshua Soto, as obviously Pudo's struggling a little bit, and Soto's going, I got to get through. And I think we're going to see Soto, even this early, is going to get really racy because he does not want to see Beans get away here. But, the one thing, when I talk to people sometimes, Kyle, about the challenges of a street course, and when you think about that, compared to a road course with runoff, if you go through a road course and you miss your turn in by a half of a second even or less, your track out point is going to be 5, 6, 7 feet off into the grass verge or right on the edge of that gravel trap. Here your track out point is 6, 7 feet deep into a concrete wall. It's a whole different level of absolute precision that you have to exercise here.
And the walls here, each section of concrete walls, we watch Rickson Greeny and Schooler go side by side.
Yeah, and Patrick's right in front of them too. That's one heck of there's a 3-car scrap there.
And Mitch Welker, who's a couple laps down, back in this fight, still trying to have an entertaining show, at least for the next 11 minutes until he can get his restart.
Well, and it's, for him, it's now become a practice session, hasn't it? Just to get some laps in, and that's good.
And for second place.
I think Soto's making his move.
Ooh,
Let's see if he does. Nope. Backs off a little bit. And I think he's thinking that if he just gets in and really hounds Pudo with the problems Pudo's having, that Pudo might overshoot another corner, and he might be able to sneak through. But the problem is, of course, that you don't want to let Beans get too far up the road.
Yeah, he gained some ground on them last lap, but in the first half of this one, he's lost 0.3 of a second already, and Pudo is 0.6 up on his best lap. at the moment, so he's really finding some speed and has run down Forster from 1.3 back to just 0.8 back in
Boy, he
5
really
corners.
has. Where did he find that?
Or is it Forster losing some ground? No, Forster's only a 10th off.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I have an idea where he may have found it, but we can't really say it on a public broadcast. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I sure do. You know what? The other thing I love about this circuit here in iRacing is those curbs I mentioned earlier. It's pretty hard to find yourself in a cut course scenario here. You can use all the curbing, especially at turn 5 in particular, where there's that big inside opening that you can turn in right after the wall. But the physics of the car will not allow you to really cut that unless you're going very slow. So you can get very aggressive with jumping curbs and things and try to find a little extra speed. But there are places like the apex of turn 1 that the curb will really just vault you into the outside. So you have to, the leader, Forster, scraped the wall there.
And it's interesting that, he comes through there and just immediately gets so tight to the wall. All 3 of them are doing it. And I don't know if that's just shortening that lineup. No sense in swinging all the way to the left when your car doesn't require that because of, carrying massive amounts of speed. But you get too close to these walls, and it almost sometimes seems like they jump out and bite you.
Yeah, and also to note, there's a blue line there in the middle of the track. Yep. Cannot cross that entering turn number 1. That's the pit outline, and then iRacing is very strict about that. So have to keep all 4 tires to the left of that line. And into turn 6, Forster's lead, 9/10, 8/10, 7/10 of a second. It's closing back up as Max Benkin has had a problem in the 0-0.
Down into the pits, see what happened.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, almost got into the little escape area there. It just missed. That's a shame.
Yeah, and it looked like he missed his braking point by a lot more than a couple of feet for this one. He went straight and just couldn't steer back to the right fast enough, and then wham.
Boom. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure. And I'm watching also that battle, behind there at this point. Caleb Patry's got a little bit of a margin in hand, and now Rick Greeny has been able to ease away from Schooler and is closing on Patry in a big hurry.
Battle for 4th place just outside the podium as the front 3 have really established themselves by about 4.6 seconds. We're about 10 laps complete into this 15-lap race. Again, racing for 25 minutes at about 1 minute and 39 seconds a lap.
You know what, Kyle? I'm going to say for the next race coming up, let's keep our eyes on Mitch Welker, because he has glommed onto the back of Giancarlo Schooler and going to school. He's just back there, and he's behind some of the fastest drivers out there right now and is easily staying with them at this point. And I think he is just being a sponge right now for somebody who's just joined us here. And he may have driven some laps around here, but in a game, in a sim, but it may not have been in these cars. And I think he's going to school right now and easily sticking with Giancarlo Schooler. This is going to be interesting in this next race.
That's a great point, because I'll bet you that Mitch Welker has driven this car around this track, but probably not in the trim that we're running and replicating the Spec Miata series cars. And the extra weight there, perhaps he wasn't really expecting it to not slow down as much as as he's used to. So went off into turn 1, hit the brake pedal, and it just was carrying a couple extra 100 pounds, and that makes a difference.
It makes a big difference. That's a really good point. I think that might be exactly it. But right now, Beans, he's just been throwing down some really consistent laps. You're not seeing him making massive gains or drops. He's just clicking them off. In Rice Pudo, you'll see him on one lap, like you said, he'll be up by almost 6/10, and then he'll be up by a couple of tenths, but then the next lap he'll be behind a little bit. And I still think he might be chasing something from that contact, but he's obviously figured out a pretty handy workaround.
Looks like it, and off into turn 1 with 6 minutes to go. Forster leads by 9/10 of a second, but the lead's been ebbing and flowing enough that we have to keep our eyes on it. Oh, very close for Rice Pudo at the exit of 1. And there's some times when you just have a really satisfying lap, but others when you have to pinch off your exit, and it's not very satisfying when you do that, knowing you overcooked it just a smidge.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is one of those tracks when you get the rhythm right.
Oh, look out!
Flow is right there. Ooh.
Man, that was close.
I'm surprised he missed the tires and then just grazed the wall. But, man, he is hustling it. But Soto has dropped off. He was back at about 1.8 seconds behind Pudo. He's brought that in just a little bit, but I really thought he was going to be getting after it a little bit. So I wonder if he maybe, I'm looking at the side, he's got a little wrinkle there in that left front. I wonder if he grazed the wall.
Sure does. It's not even a little wrinkle. That's a medium to medium large wrinkle, I'd say, on the left front of that.
That's not ironable, is what you're saying.
It's not looking so good. Lost a battle with a concrete barrier, I think, but
yeah, you rarely win those.
No, yeah.
I was going to ask, with your knowledge, obviously, of the iRacing thing, turn 8, that's one of the corners that sometimes, right there, with that big curbing, is there. I mean, see how angry those early approach teeth are to keep you from cutting it. But if you do, are you going to get a penalty there?
No, so I don't think you can in that corner, actually. Funny enough, you can cut that as much as you'd like and not get a penalty. The only place you can is the run through turn 10 on the inside of that second stage of curbing on the very far right of the screen. You can get a penalty there, and I think that's pretty much it around here, unless you're intentionally trying to do something like sneak through some of the concrete barriers and find a secret route to the other side of the track, because you can do that here. There are a few places that you can sneak through, and you're kind of looking at one of them top right of the screen there. You can see if you just go straight out of turn 7, or turn 6 rather, you can just go straight and find yourself back on the front straightaway, basically.
Exactly. Well, the other one too is, I think when you come into turn 9 and 10, you can take what they call the back door into pit lane and then come right back out onto the track. So you can see those gaps up there. So I'm sure that's a penalty. And then you mentioned that you cannot cross that pit outline, correct?
Correct. Yep, that will give you a big slowdown penalty, and it's hard to come back from that one. And that's something that I remember IndyCar beginning to enforce very strongly a couple of years ago, because it was becoming a problem. As drivers were coming out of pit lane. No pit stops here to really worry about tonight, so it wouldn't have been an issue, but you don't get to choose what iRacing is going to enforce. How about the lead battle here, Greg? It's getting tight again. Half a second between the front two.
Pudo has figured out how to drive this a little bit of a dinged-up car here and doing a really, really good job. Meanwhile, Soto continues to drop. That last lap, he was 0.6 off of his best, so he's really struggling a little bit out there. And you were talking about that as we're watching this battle with Rick Segrini and Patry. You were talking about that pit out deal. Remember all the hoopla about Simon Pagenaud?
Right, that's exactly what I was referencing. That exact year.
Maybe what, half a foot?
Yeah.
That they think he went, and I mean it was big brush of the wall there by Patry.
And Rick Segrini going to take advantage of it, slowed him down just enough, and it's a battle for fourth, and it's getting hot because it's just 2 laps to go right now. Huge jump for Patry over the curbing at 4, and then into 5. This is a corner you can get pretty aggressive, but Rick Segrini keeps the right sides on the rumbles and sizes up the the 998 up to turn 7 here.
Let's see, does he try something? He's got a nice run. Oh, Patry broke a lot sooner there than I think Rick Segrini thought. And I don't think it was a brake check, but I think Patry may have been trying to overslow just a little bit because he knew Rick Segrini had a bit of a run and just caught Rick Segrini by surprise as well. So that battle's not done by any means yet.
It is not done.
We're into our final, minute and 45.
Which means we'll be coming back to the white flag this time. And Pudo has the gap down to, I would call that diving distance, Greg. It's close.
Oh, man, yeah, it surely is. But you see there how Beans actually decided as the white flag comes out, he decided, even with Patry close, I'm going to do that diamond on the corner, go in deep, rotate, get to throttle, and look what it's done. He's got that little bit of a jump. And he was diving distance, but he opted not to, and that may have been the moment here in this race, unless, of course, Beans makes some sort of mistake here.
Under pressure on the final lap, it's very easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
Through turn 1.
Bet. This isn't done. And if one of these guys has an issue, that's going to promote Soto and could bring that battle that's for fourth now between Patry and Rick Segrini. Oh, and again, on turn-in, you see Pudo graze the wall. Talk about using every ounce of racetrack. He did it again.
I love watching street racing because drivers just get everything that they can, and no more is tolerated by the racetrack, only up to the absolute limit. And the battle for fourth that you documented is getting pretty tight as well, Rick Singrini and Patry, but we'll come back to that one. Well, maybe we'll stick on it for a little while longer because Rick Singrini's got a big run here, heading to 7 to make that turn 8.
He sure does, and you can actually see Patry's car moving around a lot. Rick Singrini I think he's going to try, he ran wide. Didn't get it rotated quite enough. Meanwhile, here comes Forrester, last time, down into turn 9, up on the curb. And I don't think Rice Puto's close enough to try the dive here unless Forrester makes a little error. So Beans, and here it comes! He did it! He wasn't close enough, but he did it anyway. Look at that. Now that's a class move.
And here comes Soto.
And Soto saying, thank you, guys. This is going to be an outright drag race. What's going to happen? Soto's got the momentum. He's coming alongside, side by side to the line. Forrester or Soto? Which way does it go? I think Forrester, just by having the shorter run, was able to hang on to it by 23 one-thousandths of a second. And for Rice Puto, yeah, I give him all the credit in the world for just stopping until Beans got turned around. But it cost him that second spot. He was still able to come through into third, but holy cow, Kyle. Well, hey, like I said, I didn't think he was close enough, and he did.
That came from out of nowhere. I was not
really
expecting that at all. We'll wait for the session to tick over so we don't get interrupted in our replay, but that was pretty wild. Here's a look at your race results. We'll go back and watch them again in a moment and see what happened. But Forster, Soto, and Rice Puto, your top 3. Then Patry and Rick Singrini finish out your 4th and 5th spot.
Yeah, and I mean, what a battle there. Rick Singrini just couldn't figure out a way around Caleb Patry. Giancarlo Schooler right there in 6th. Then Andrew Ozencroft in 7th. A great run for Andrew. Great to see him have that kind of a run. Same for Friedhofer. How about Wayne Buttermore up into 9th? That's just wonderful to see. And then Cord Schmidt rounding out your top 10. Then with Rich Green, Mitch Welker, and Max Bankin all struggling. But Mitch Welker, I'll tell you what, like I said, he was easily as fast as Schooler, Rick Singrini, Patry, and learning with every lap following him. It's going to be fun to see what he does here in this next race.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Again, we're still going to go back and look at that replay here. Just want to wait for the last car to cross the stripe as the session ticks over. There is the last car, and that means we can go back and have a look in just a moment's time. Big dramas on the final lap coming to the checkers, and we'll back this up. And Soto had no obligation to slow down for what those two were doing.
No.
And this is what he drove into.
He must have been going, oh my goodness, grazes off of Rice Puto, swings around. Now, here's that drag race. So close. You can see Rice Puto there, Kyle, was coming up. He looked like he had the mojo.
And here's what the run to the line looked like. Side by side, 23 thousandths of a second. And here is the battle to the finish. And we'll look back at how the incident began as well. But Soto almost had him. He needed another 1.5 foot bumper length, maybe?
Yeah,
right
exactly.
There.
Look at that.
That's cool.
That's incredible. But let's go back and take a look at the run in there. And watch this, because I swear, Rice Puto came from Hollywood to try this pass.
Right there, just open the doors open. And you mentioned earlier about how if a car isn't immediately behind you, how you can swing that corner out. That's exactly what Beans did, swinging out to set up for the run of the line. But opening the door, you can get there if you're the 5, but he had to use the 23 car as a brake.
Well, and Beans had done this exact move the previous lap, and that's what gave him that nice jump. But I'm sure he looked in his mirrors and said, yeah, there's no way Nick's going to try that. He's so far back.
Oof, wow.
And Nick saw, that Nick used the Senna quote right there. You're not a racer if you see a gap and you don't go for it.
And he went for it indeed.
That he did. Wow.
Well, Greg,
it looked like it was going to be a little bit more serene finish with that little margin that Beans had opened up, Kyle. Never. That's why we have the races, right?
That's how It's not over till it's over. That's why I've learned that too many times. You mentioned the full send sims earlier, Greg. Here's a look at them.
Well, and this is their new Pro rig. It is the Pro Ultimate, and it features a triple screen setup, as you can see, a 49-inch center monitor, 2 side monitors, and a 34-inch fourth or top monitor for either telemetry or track data and track maps. It's called the Pro Ultimate rig. It's their new rig, just came out a couple of weeks ago. If you're interested, just go to the FSS website at fullsendsims.com or call at 407-900-3795. Look at that beauty, Kyle.
It's awesome. And I have a rig that I built myself. And to be honest, Greg, I would rather just get one because the amount of setup and it's still not quite right. That's the monitor mounts in particular. I'd love to just have one already scienced out and know what all the pieces are going to go together.
Well, and that previous shot of just that wraparound with that huge center monitor and then the 2 side monitors wrapping around and completing it. I mean, they come all the way around basically to the absolute limit of the peripheral vision. Look at that.
Such a cool shot.
You are immersed right there, aren't you?
Absolutely, and what a cool thing. And you can check out Full Send Sims to learn more. Yep. And let's even got seat belts on it.
I know, it's just that's the Pro Ultimate rig, and as Full Send Sim says, practice makes podium, and the Pro Ultimate will get you to the top step of the podium even quicker, I think. Hey, we also have a pretty cool announcement about Season 3 of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship. It's going to be a 10-race season as opposed to 8. How cool is that? And it'll actually start a little bit sooner than the second season did, so the quote-unquote off-season will be slightly reduced, but it'll be 10 weeks. And here's the really cool thing, Kyle. It'll mirror the SCCA regional and national scheduled tracks whenever possible. So literally, this championship will be virtually racing on Monday nights at the track that will be raced the following weekend in SCCA real-life competition, whether it's a Hoosier Super Tour or a big national, or if it's an off weekend for those, even the next big regional race. And that just not only allows drivers to come out and have a blast racing in one of the absolute top sim racing championships going right now, but also to actually prepare for an upcoming real-world event if they are going to be driving in it. And right now, the scheduled opener of Season 3 will be August 14th, Monday, August 14th. So, wow, some really cool things on the horizon here.
I'd say so. More racing, more better, I say. 8 rounds into 10. Absolutely, sign me up. I am signing up. We'll be doing it again. I can't wait to do it as we head into the latter half of the summer. All right, time to go racing once again, though. The cars will regrid, and their starting lineup is on the left-hand side of the screen. It'll be Beans Forster on the front row for this one. After winning that last race by just 23 thousandths of a second, Joshua Soto is going to start on the outside, and Rice Puto will have to start from a disadvantaged position number 3. I did get a text from Court Schmidt telling us that Rice Puto, his foot slipped off the brake. He didn't mean to go down there, but as he was cornering and went to go to the brake pedal, it missed.
Well, hey, that's part of the game too, isn't it? You know, that's one of the things I love about these cars. You know, you're actually shifting with a gated box. You have to heel and toe. You have to do all those things. And this is what made, we had those shots from earlier of the 70s, right? And racing in that era, pre-sync, synchronous trannies and pre-sequential and certainly pre-paddle, you could force a guy into a mistake. And, in that first race, Kyle, I'm not sure there's one car out there that didn't have some sort of wrinkle somewhere.
Yeah, lots of drivers had wrinkles somewhere, including Mitchell Welker, who had a big one early on. He will start 12th. It'll be fun to watch him climb up through the field. Cars are rolling through turn number 11. The safety car will take the right-hand turn onto pit lane, Greg, in 25 minutes for our next round, our 14th round of the FSS Esports Spec Miata season.
All right, here we go. Watch for that green flag. Forster on the pole. Up we go. We're green, and here we go. Look at that big move in the back. Wow, what a launch by the 22 of green. Look at him coming up alongside cars. He must, either he jumped the start or he timed it to perfection. Oh, trouble in the back. That's Court. Mitch Welker involved again.
Oh, man. I think
unbelievable.
I think that he was a victim that time as the 22 of Rich Green storms to the lead. And I saw something at the back I didn't like to see, Greg. Looked like cars were single filing out and leaving a big gap as now the two Delta Sport cars get side by side. They were leaving a gap like they were going to plan to jump it. We'll get a look at it and go take another gander there because I think that's what the 22 did.
Well, let's take a peek here. Yeah, definitely laying way back.
Well, the green flag's out here, so...
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I thought wrong. I mean, it certainly looks like it, but if the green flag is out, you can race.
Yeah, and boy, did he.
He did. So,
watching the back there, you can see Welker came up along the inside of Court. And I don't think Court realized. Court tapped the guy in front. There was a big checkup. Right here, watch for Welker.
Ooh.
And boom.
Yeah, that didn't go so well.
No. Man.
Both those cars out again for the second time.
How about that piece of evasive by Buttermore?
Well, Rich Green, all for naught. Engine expired, yep.
Oh, man. Well, we were talking about those shifts.
And there it is. Let go at turn number 9 and hold on over. And now we cycle back to Joshua Soto as the leader. Forster second, Patry third, then Giancarlo Schooler fourth, and Nicholas Rice-Puto all the way back in 6th place.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rich Green had the start of the gods in season 2. That one's going to be remembered for sure. But yeah, Soto now able to get in front of Beans Forster as we were watching all that other action unfolding. Then Patry trying to rebound and put in a really good race here. Yeah, it's a surprise to see Rice-Puto drop back like he did. And now Rick Sagrini is going to be on the attack. And right there is Andrew Wozik. Did he just... Oh! Right as I was saying, Wozencroft having a good race. He finds Schooler broadside in the middle of the track, nowhere he could go.
Right here, just gets loose on corner exit, gets clipped by Rice-Puto. Yep, and then pow.
Boom.
Yeah, he was already sideways, but just got helped around by the 5, and both those cars are destroyed, and that now really leaves some distance. Rice-Puto's got some damage as well, but Rick Sagrini trying to take advantage of it. He runs 5th.
Well, and yeah, look at that gap. And if Rick Sagrini thinks he's got speed here, he's going to want to get after it. But then again, I said that about Soto in the previous race, and then he just started to drop off. I don't know if that was just because he pushed too hard and nicked the wall. We did see that big wrinkle, that big crunch on that left front corner that we didn't see how it happened. But right now, Beans is right there in full attack mode. But I think the hungriest guy on the track by far is going to be Caleb Patry. It's going to be interesting to see what he does.
Lingering in 3rd place right now as the front two have established a slight gap, and it's a battle for 1st and a battle for 4th. Soto, Forster, and Rice-Puto and Rick Sagrini. Those are really your two fights in anger right now. The 108 closing in on Rice-Puto, who again has front and rear damage, but I think it's going to be a drag issue mostly for the 5 with that front nose all crinkled in.
Yep, you can see Rice-Puto was closing, and then it sounded like he just checked up a little early. Boy, look at him close up through the foul. Now, some of that's just compression under braking, obviously, but Rice-Puto didn't pull all of that back out under acceleration. But, boy, I'll tell you what, he gets through turn 4 really well, doesn't he?
And he threw 5 as well.
Yeah.
Big jump over the curbing there. And Joshua Soto now with the track position, looking pretty good out front, but Forster trying to reel him back in.
You see that Soto runs that little bit wider arc through turn number 6.
Ooh. Soto looked a little wide on entry to 8 and gave up a bunch of time, and Forster's all over him now.
All right. Does he go for the lead? Looks like he's thinking about it. And Soto covers, as you might imagine. So Beans pops to the outside. You can make this outside pass work. You got to have that guy trust you. Beans grazes the wall. He's still going to try and get his nose up underneath. Finally has to concede.
Has to concede because the wall closes in on that pavement on the inside, so he was running out of space. It's like merging onto a busy highway, and your on-ramp lane is going away. Just run out of time. And so he had to jump on the binders for a second. And while those two were fighting, it allowed Patry to run a much quicker lap. A 39.9 for Soto, a 40.0 for Forster, but a 39.8 for Patry and a 39.5 for Rice Budo. So it might be a 4-horse race for first place. Make it 5 because Ricks and Greenies with Rice Budo. So we could kind of accordion this group back together.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I was looking at Rice Budo and Ricks and Greenie near identical laps, 139.5s, while everybody else, as you pointed out, was at least 4/10 slower. And the more fierce the battling up front gets. Boy, I'll tell you, Patry that time grazing the wall at turn number 4. Ooh, Soto grazing the wall on the exit of 5.
I should invest in retailers of NC generation MX-5 wing mirrors because I'd be rich at this point.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would. Yeah, this is just a study in dancing on the tightrope of track limits here. But again, if the guy in front of you is able to use every ounce of that track, open the radius up so there's less rolling side friction through the corners in a car that's underpowered, that's going to be the fast way, and you better be comfortable with it as well, or you're going to be slow. And we're seeing some really pushing the envelope here. Now, Beans has room this time. Well, we said that last time, and he got clocked, but you see him square that up just a little bit. Let's watch this.
Yeah, watch the turn in here for Soto. I was talking about how there's, trying to find an example of it. Look at that. Yeah. 4 tires over the inside, jumping the inside curb. Fair play here in iRacing at Long Beach. So if you can make the car do it, you can take it.
All right. Beans now, it's funny how long this Shoreline Drive run is here, but you just don't see a whole lot of a draft there, do you?
No, not really. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that you're leaving turn 11 at such a slow rate of speed. And Rice Budo's gone around at turn 1.
Yep, gathers it up, didn't get into anything, at least in the runoff. Yeah, he just really missed that completely, didn't he?
Yep, just came to a stop and backed up, and that will likely take him out of the shot for the win. He's 15 seconds back now, but the 3 cars that were battling continue to do so as we work lap 5 of approximately 15, although we do have 16 on the predicted this time, so maybe a slightly slower pace than before.
That moment, that could have been something like we saw from Rice Budo in that last lap of the first race, just foot slipping off of the brake or just missing a down change, not into the wrong gear, missing a down change. And again, Forster going to try this outside move. He tried it before. He's alongside this time. He's there. Can he make it work? He's through.
That was
Soto
beautiful.
Had to give it up. But now Soto swinging way out. He's going to try to get this wind-up move, but man, Beans, when he's not interrupted, he has a great run through 11, doesn't he?
That was fantastic. Around the outside at turn 9, and the outside turn to the inside for 2 consecutive corners, and then he had Soto cleared. Now Soto has to deal with Patry in the rearview mirror, and we'll see if the 998 plays ball here, or if he'll try to go on by and set his sights on the top spot here with 16 minutes to go.
He's looking. But Soto going in really deep, and I don't think Patry. Oh, Beans getting the wall on the exit of 1. Soto got in there so deep that there wasn't a whole lot Patry could do about it. And I'm impressed yet we haven't seen anybody do what I've always called lawn mowing through the fountain. When somebody gets a little bit too far up over that curb and gets into the flowers up there. The Jim McCallion and all, they don't really like that.
I was going to show you Soto just nibbling the edge there.
Exactly. Exactly.
That curb is too smooth. If they made it a bit more aggressive, they probably wouldn't use that so much, but it just wants to be jumped. Oh, Forster into the wall on the inside and the outside. Nibbled the apex wall and the exit wall.
That was a pretty solid hit. So it looked pretty flush, but still have to see whether that did something in terms of the tow out on these cars. And look, Ricks and Greenie just must be beside himself because he's running competitive laps. He just cannot get to these guys.
If they keep fighting like this, he might.
Yeah. See, look at the exit Beans gets. It's always, he just gets to the throttle that much sooner and opens it up. It closes up entering a bit, but it pays off big because obviously that's the run to the checker flag too. at the end of the race. But we have seen Beans in both races so far pull off some absolutely stellar moves. And that outside pass through 9, it was cool because he tried it the lap before and just missed it. Just didn't get quite enough alongside. But at that point, Beans registered that and went, I can make this work.
I love when drivers experiment and kind of toy around while they've got opportunity to do it and maybe don't demonstrate all of their prowess until it's needed. And he waited a few laps to do it again and got it done.
Yeah. Well, and I think, because that pass he made in that first race where he went inside, outside, and then back in, he's sometimes you'll set something up, and he maybe went outside, hoping that Soto would think, all right, he's going to come down if I overshoot, he's going to go square up. And I think that's exactly what Soto did. He protected, and Bean said, I'll just ramp the outside.
Be some lap traffic up the road. I think that's Court Schmidt.
Yeah, after that big hit earlier, back out on track, he is. Good to see him getting that opportunity to get back out and get some laps in. Tell you what, that group has closed up again. Patry dropped off a little bit, but not anymore.
And with Forster opening up this entry every single lap, is someone willing to maybe try to jam it down the inside? They're a lot closer than Bryce Budo was at the end of the first race. And if you can get overlap there, that's a totally fair pass. And like we said earlier, the short wheelbases of these cars, you can make the corner. There are some GT and prototype cars where you get side by side and neither of you are going to make the turn when you have to open up the steering.
Oh, absolutely. If you remember the IMSA race a few years ago, one of the Corvettes and one of the other cars had that contact in the hairpin. And the third place car, which was the Team Corvette, threaded the needle, but then the next car tried to move and the track was blocked completely. So it happens, there's no question. And the one thing I noticed that last time is, obviously Beans checking his mirrors, realizing that Soto was much closer. He did not open that up into the hairpin anywhere near as much. He definitely covered that a little bit.
I will say, at least we made it to the start-finish line without crashing. Having run this track a couple times in iRacing official races, the most challenging part of this is the double-wide pace lap through, which, and of course, a lot of the series have figured out in real life that you run single file through turn 11 and then you double up as you come to the stripe. But not everyone in iRacing has figured that out yet, apparently.
Well, hey, it's always a learning experience, isn't it?
I guess that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah,
what the heck are you guys doing is the other way to put it. But
yeah, now watch this. Now Beans has a lot more of a margin. Does he do? Yes, he does. Now he really opens that up and gets, and Soto got the inside wall, and that really slowed him up. And now Beans is going to get a lot more of a gap, and Soto might be a sitting duck for Patry behind him.
It's 0.8 of a second. It's growing slightly, and Patry has a bit more straight line speed, but the slipstream not pulling him in until the very end of the straightaway. And like I mentioned before, when I think it was Rice Budo that went off, the front straightaway would draft a lot better if you didn't leave turn 11 at like 12 miles an hour. It takes you so long to get up to speed.
That's a really good point. Obviously, these cars don't exactly leap out of the hairpin.
No. They gently climb out like an old dude out of bed.
So you're talking about me, right?
I don't know. How quick do you jump out of bed in the morning?
Pretty much exactly how you described.
I guess it depends on the day and what's for breakfast, right?
That's right. I have a slow apex roll speed in the morning.
Oh, man. 10 minutes and 37 seconds to go. And we're past the halfway stage at this point. Lap 9 of, again, 15 is what we're aiming for here. And Soto has taken about 1/10 of a second back out of Forster's advantage, and Patry's right behind him. It's 5.2 back to Rick Singrini, but I wouldn't count him out of it because, as we saw in the first race, he can get pretty hands-on up front.
I think Rick Singrini has pretty decent odds of ending up on the podium, at least from what we've seen. But the other spot here, and this is what Beans is doing really, really well here. We've been talking about his launch coming out of the hairpin when he doesn't have somebody right on his 6, but he's also made almost made a pass around the outside into 9 and then got one done, and that time opened up a sizable lap on Soto, because he also is getting through 8 incredibly well. And if there are 2 corners on this track you want to get out of well, it's those 2. He's driving this brilliantly.
Nice line through turn 1, but that gap has come down further. Yep. Under half a second on the run through turn 1, and Soto and Patry actually had to bail out of the fountain corner. Braked a little too late. And the side of that 998 is looking pretty torn up as well. That left side just persistently scraping lap after lap, and you see this Soto doing the same thing, just taking some layers of concrete off the barriers here.
Yeah, and one of the spots, those 2 in particular, it almost seems like every time as they set up to turn into 4, they swing to the left to open that up as much as possible and just brush that wall. But right here, Beans just gets through there. Ooh, and again, that was, I think, Patry tapping the wall. But Beans just, I don't know what he's doing, but that car, his line into 8 and through 8, it just gives him this jump.
And he's going to need it
to see what it is, but
he's going to need it because the other 2 have been able to keep pace with him. So any advantage that he can garnish is going to be useful at the end of this race. Ooh, little nose to rear contact there between Soto and Patry, just the slightest of touches.
And I think I think Soto there, obviously watching Beans and seeing him, every time when he's got that margin, doing that big square up on the hairpin and then driving away. And I think Soto's going, I've got to do that too, or I'm going to lose him. And then, of course, Patry's thinking, hey, there's that little gap there. So
minimum apex speed at turn 11, 29 miles an hour.
There you go. Ooh, that was Beans tapping the wall that time there.
I think some of this also, just based on what I'm visually seeing, is that was close.
Monster oversteer there for Patry.
The other thing that we could be seeing a little bit of it when that puff of debris flies up. But again, iRacing's prediction code. When you get that close and the margins are that small, even if you don't actually touch it, it might just play that scrape effect. Just because we're dealing with the internet, so that could be a potential as well. It's probably as likely that the drivers are not hitting it, but just getting so close that the internet thinks it might as well be a touch.
And here I was trying to not let facts ruin a great story.
I mean, I'll bet you they've hit it. I mean, they have hit it. They have damaged.
Certainly they have a few times.
Maybe not every corner.
Right. That's like that imaginary hit that you get every once in a while with side by side or whatever.
Yeah. That code.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that. See, that's what I mean, though. Beans gets it. And, other parts of the track, Soto closes it up. But the 2 most important corners, Beans is really nailing the exits.
Ooh, big tank slapper for Patry on the exit of turn 11. That'll wake you up.
That'll get it. Got it rotated, but it all came because of a late. He just pushed wide and then went to throttle and had to snap it around.
So they've separated themselves. Forster and Soto have 4/10 between them, and it's another full second back to Patry.
It's going to be interesting now to see for Soto Beans clouting that curb pretty good, not having Patry all over the back of him. Now, if he can just sort of, fold the imaginary mirrors down and just focus on closing up on Beans, see if he's going to be able to do that.
Absolutely, it'll bring the aggression level up, because if you don't have a driver behind you, you can just focus on being the hunter and not the hunted at that stage.
Yeah. And there's Rick Segrini in the background, a lonely 4th right now. He's also well clear of Rice-Puto. Max Bankin up into 6th. Buttermore going to even have a better finish, sitting in 7th right now. There he is. Great weekend, or Monday night for him, that's for sure.
Yep, managed to dodge some of the chaos at the start of the race.
Yep.
Carlos Schooler, who was part of some dramas early on, 9th place at the moment, still running and repaired mostly.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've gotten into arguments with people about, that even though you're not necessarily the fastest car, you can drive the better race, and you can have a lot of speed, but if you're crash happy or mistake happy, in somebody who's a second off the pace, but is just absolutely consistent and smooth, and suddenly goes by you or whatever. They've in the end have driven a better race, and Buttermore he's made some absolutely brilliant evasive moves. There's been a lot of carnage these two races, and he's been able to avoid all of that. He's done a great job, and as a result, he's going to get rewarded for it here.
I always say that to win a race, you have to be, the time you spend between green and checkered has to be the least of everybody. However, doesn't necessarily mean that your lap times had to have been the best of everybody. It's just the average of all of it has to be the least. And you can be fast as heck and then have yourself an off or a mistake, and that will cost you quite a bit. Soto, 1.2 seconds between himself and Patry in third, 0.3 between himself and Beans Forster. So he has separated that deer from the rest of the crowd, and the wolf is ready to pounce here, I think.
It is, and you saw Beans there just missed the apex. I'm going to watch what Beans is doing here. That time Soto did not lose what he has been losing to Forster there. And Soto may have been a little worried there with Patry right behind him for a while, and now maybe not so much because he didn't lose as much ground.
A really early turn in for Soto and used all the inside pavement. 3 minutes and 27 seconds to go. That's 2 laps left. Oh, big dive up the inside.
He's going for it. What a pretty move.
And just like that. Not done yet,
and
though.
Look at Beats counterpunching. We're in the drag race here, Kyle. That was a beautiful move, and that's how you do that clean. But sometimes that also pinches and really slows down your exit, and that's why the guy you just passed could do what Beans just did.
We're not done yet still, because the braking zone for one is right here. Soto's got overlap again.
Here he comes, steaming down the inside. Pinched weight. Oh! Soto saved it. What a brilliant save by Soto. And here comes Patry on Forster. He's through.
Wow, that was a big move there for Patry. Gets himself up into second place. 2 minutes and 40 to go. Again, we mentioned 2 laps remaining, so you can't let Soto run away.
Exactly. And that was an absolute case of, Soto was so deep and to the inside that he had to brake super hard to even have a shot at making the corner. And I think Beans didn't think he was going as slow as he had to make the corner, and that's why he just tapped him. And then Soto made a brilliant save.
Half a second is the differential now. Patry late turn in for turn 8.
All right, this is where Beans has been great. Did he get the exit he needs to try and get around Patry here down into 9? I don't think he's close enough. He's closing, but yep, too little.
And now the chess match begins. Final lap will signify 11 turns remaining. And how many opportunities do you get to make a pass? It's not all 11, so you have to get wise with it here. Good exit from Patry, and Forster is going to be a spectator for part of this at least.
I think so. That was a much better exit for Patry than I would have anticipated. Just what we've been seeing by Forster. White flag is out. Now we see last lap. Any kind of an opportunity, the gloves are coming off. And Jordan Rixon-Greeny is sitting back there going, podium, podium, baby, podium.
Into turn 1. Here we go.
Woo! Was that pushing the envelope of those blue lines?
He might have gotten away with it, but Patry all over the back of Soto now. He's closed up all half a second in one corner.
All right. Yeah, it was a great run through 1, wasn't it? And Forster's right there as well. They are covered by the proverbial blanket. Here we go. Up and through turn number 5. This is going to be fascinating here.
This is going to be fun. It's a race to all the braking zones at this stage. Soto got out of 4 very well.
Now here we go through 6. This is where we have seen Beans get great runs out of here, but he's so close to the back of Patry. Is he going to be able to do that? They're an absolute lockstep, Kyle.
Now defense from Soto. Pick the right, pick the left. Which line do you want? We saw Forster go the long way around, but he's third place. Is he going to have enough time? He's going to swing out to the 998, who goes to the left as well.
All right, now that's got Patry. That is what Forster did before. No. Soto comes across, Patry into the wall. Then, Forster dives underneath as Soto fights for the save. Here we go, last turn. And Forster has just enough margin. Soto diving down inside of Patry, side by side at the exit. Looks like Soto got the run. Here we go. And it's Forster's got plenty of margin here. And here comes Soto. Does he get it? No! I think did Patry get him right at the line?
I think Soto has slammed the brakes. Not sure what for, but Patry got him at the line by 0.3 of a second. And the late race dramas, again, in full send sim Spec Miata series at Long Beach. It has not disappointed tonight with the action.
No. Here's a look at Giancarlo Schooler, who problem at the start and ended up getting sideways and then center punched. And he's just trying to come back and through. Meanwhile, Beans has found himself a spot of runoff. A double win for Beans here. Or check that, sorry.
This one, I think you're right. Did he win the last race? But let's go back and have a look at the setup for what ended up happening here, and really from turn 9 onward. And it was the Soto went defensive. Beans swings left. Patry goes left with him, swings the long round, and then Soto just misses the corner here, gets on the curb, bounces. They get together, and then Forster splits the difference here.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened. It didn't look like, I mean, there was some pretty serious side-to-side contact. Let's see. Yeah, you're right. Soto got that curb. That didn't look like it was enough contact for Soto to do anything, but maybe it broke the left rear corner.
Yep, and then Forster dove underneath them, and then behind that they continued to do battle here into turn 11, and Soto snuck up there. And I think at this stage, this was, I'm going to make a guess with how much these drivers respect each other, that these drivers were trying to give each other the opportunity to pass each other back fairly. I think they both felt responsibility for that incident, and that's why Soto hit the brakes at the end, and Patry just said, all right, fine, and took it. If I had to guess, that would be it.
I think you would probably be right. I think you're absolutely right. Wow, unbelievable. The interesting thing was, of course, Patry had seen Forster make that pass on Soto earlier, hadn't he?
Yes.
And so he knew you could do it, and he popped out. And Beans going as well saw him do that and just squared up underneath. And that ended up being the big play, because when Patry and Soto touched, Beans was able to sweep around them. So right spot, right time for Beans.
Here's a look at race results here from race 2. Beans Forster, Caleb Patry, Joshua Soto, your top bunch, and they had a fun scrap to end it tonight. Rick Sangrini, 4th place, and Nicholas Rice-Budo missed both tries tonight. Second race kind of got caught up in a scrum, but race 1, those dramatic last moments up front with Beans Forster.
Yeah, wow, just a couple of races that were entertaining start to finish, but the last laps in each one, particularly down into the last few corners, absolutely insane. But hey, this is racing. You're going to go for it if you've got a shot. And I think Rick Sangrini was really thinking it could happen, but it obviously was just too far back to be able to take any kind of advantage there. And Rice-Budo ends up still in 5th. Max Bankin in 6th. Wozencroft sneaking around Buttermore right near the end, but still for Wayne. Another top 10 finish. Giancarlo Schooler recovering to 9th. And a badly damaged Court Schmidt in 10th. And then Friedhofer, Rich Green, who had the start of the gods, but then had a motor let go problem for him as well.
Well, Nicholas Rice-Budo was 5th in race 2, but battled for a win in race number 1. And we're hearing that the foot slipped off the brake, Nicholas, but take us through the end of race 1 in particular, than the dramas at the start of race 2.
Oh, my goodness. I was trying to show the nose at the end of race 1. And I just punched out the nose, and I went to hit the brake, and my sock slipped off of it, and then I had to bury him after that, and I killed Beans, and I feel really bad. I'd like to apologize to him.
Well, hey, those things happen, obviously, but the strategy was good. And to me, were you a little surprised with you being seeing Beans open it up that much in that last corner? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think he'd leave the space. I just wanted to scare him to like a wider line. That's all I was trying to do. But unfortunately.
Well, yeah, but it was certainly entertaining and everything. And then I loved the fact that you just sort of stayed there and waited for him to get going and everything, and suddenly Josh Soto just appears on the field, and then ends up with a massive drag race to the line. It was incredibly.
I'm glad it was entertaining.
Oh, it was that. Yeah. It was that. And I mean, it's the last corner at Long Beach. You're not just going to not try something, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That was the closest I've been in the last 5 laps or so. I think I was like 5/10 back. So I figured I'd try it. Might as well.
Absolutely. It's Long Beach, man. You got to go for it. So, hey, thanks. Always fun to watch you race. Always fun to call you race. And this track just certainly promotes some fun racing. It has to be absolutely a blast to be driving it.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun.
All right, Nicholas. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And we're going to move on now to Joshua Soto, who pulled off a podium here in race number 3, battling to the stripe. And Josh, you were leading into turn number 9, but just got outmaneuvered there at the end and some contact to finish the race. Take us through your perspective and what could you have done different to come out the other side a race winner tonight?
Oh, yeah. I probably would have maintained not such a tight line going through that the turn right before the hairpin. But yeah, once I made contact with Caleb, I pretty much just like backed off and gave him the position because I didn't want to win like that. So I was just like, just backed off the throttle, let the cars by, and continue the race.
Well, Josh, you were really in that, the proverbial, between the rock and a hard spot there, because if you didn't protect to the inside, he was going to come streaming up the inside. They just got that run. And if you did protect to the inside, as Beans had done earlier, it did leave you a little vulnerable to the outside. It looked like in that last one, you just got maybe a bit too much of the curb, and you couldn't keep it inside, quite enough, and just sort of glanced into Caleb.
Yeah. If you clip the curbing there and from that angle, it just pushes you straight towards like the wall. And I was just full turn to the right, and it just was not going. So yeah, if you're really close to the apex there, I mean not close to apex, but if you're really close to the right side going into that turn, the car will not cooperate the way you want it to.
Let's go back to the first race. You were third as you're coming through turn 9, and there was a little bit of a margin, obviously, up there for the guys in front, and then there was the contact. Did you have a feeling something like that was going to happen, or had you at that point kind of resigned yourself to third?
I knew there was a possibility, so the race is never over, so it's good to just try to maintain as much pace as you can, try to just try to keep up just in case, they do make a mistake. Right. And they did make a mistake, and the whole thing that happened. But yeah, it's just trying to maintain pace because this is a very tricky track, and even the best make mistakes. So
tricky but fun, I presume.
Yeah, it's very fun. Very good racing.
Well, yeah. And the interesting thing to me was when Nick got into Beans, and Nick could have easily backed up because Beans was sideways. He could have backed up, gone around, and won. He's sitting there waiting, doing a really polite thing, doing the nope after you. That was my bad. You were under no obligation to do that. And I love how you just streamed around the outside, tipped your hat, and said thank you.
Yeah. I was just trying, I was trying to get through there as clean as possible. Made a little bit of contact with I think Rice Peter, but just trying to get through there and hopefully get the win. We're really close, but it was a good race overall.
It surely was. Absolutely a great race and great fun. And as always, Joshua, just thoroughly enjoy calling your races, and you always make it fun. So well done, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
All right, moving on now to Caleb Patry, who brought it home in second place tonight. And we were just talking about the dramatic finishes, Caleb, tonight in both race 1 and race 2. But for you, it was race 2 that you were directly involved. Took a swing to the outside at turn number 9 and ran out of daylight between yourself and the 77. Take us through it.
Yeah, so following everybody in third most of that race, I watched Beans do it around Josh in that same corner, so I thought that was the way to go. And I definitely had him under braking, but I think I didn't really get on the gas as much as I liked, and that caused Josh to get a little bit of a run. But still, I was there, but we ended up making contact, and I hit the wall, which was unfortunate, but thanks to Josh, he gave me the spot back, so I appreciate that. But overall, yeah, that was a really good scrap between the three of us.
Well, and I'll tell you what, there were moments when you would drop back and then you'd suddenly just charge back into them. And it wasn't necessarily, it didn't seem like they were making mistakes. It was just that you were able to just dig deep and find something and run them back down again. That's what made that one so interesting, because, we knew that even if half second, 0.8 of a second gap developed for some reason, you guys could close it down on each other. And that must have made it really fun, to be a part of it, to go, all right, I had a little mistake there, but I could get there.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. No, just all night tonight I was struggling with being consistent. I'd overdrive a couple of corners a few times, then fall behind or brush a wall here and there. But I just had to tell myself when I started doing that just to lay back a little bit, back up the braking points a little bit, and just roll speed, because I knew if you overdrive here and get a bad exit, you're done. So yeah, and then I just tried my best there to stay in the draft, and hopefully things would happen between them, and they definitely did those last couple of laps.
How much of a draft would you feel?
Honestly, it wasn't that strong, but I could definitely tell I would get a little, like maybe a tenth or two on the straights if I was right there. When I was back about a second, I didn't really feel that much, but it definitely helped a little bit.
Yeah, and Kyle made a great point. Out of the hairpin, you're going so slow coming out. Draft probably wasn't as much, but it sure looked to me like if you were right with somebody coming out of 8, then you could get a nice little toe.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely the corner after that was where the best passing opportunity was. So I just tried my best to get a run and stay as close as I could to the car in front of me.
Well, you sure made a beautiful move around the outside there, going into 9 on that last lap, and a little curb hop and a skate sideways from Soto got you some contact. But man, just a great drive. And I know after last weekend at Sonoma, after last Monday at Sonoma, you got to be really happy to be up on the podium again, where you belong, man. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely nice to kind of reset after a couple of bad weeks. So looking forward to the final round. Hopefully we can get some decent points there.
Yeah, well, we know you will, man. We're looking forward to it as well.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Caleb. Moving on now to Beans Forster, race winner a couple of times tonight, gets it done in dramatic fashion in both races, Beans. I don't think any of those races ended the way that we thought they would, but I don't think that's how we thought it were going to happen. But I'm sure you're thrilled nonetheless to win a couple of races tonight.
Absolutely. That was a wild turn of events for especially that second race, but it's Long Beach, so that always happens.
That says something about the second race, that when in the last corner of the last lap of the first race, you're turning into it fine, and suddenly you're 180 degrees facing the wall, and you said the second race's last lap was even wilder. That tells you just how crazy it was. We're watching it right now. That was just nuts.
Yeah, the low grip and the tight walls of street circuits in general, it just makes for some really, really tight margins when you're going through these corners, and then throwing that hairpin there on the last turn is a recipe for disaster, but somehow we make it work.
Yeah, you do. How many times, we kept seeing all this little dust, coming off the cars as you turn in, say, to 4 or exit with all the cars. How many of those were actual hits? Because you guys just seem to be glancing the walls constantly.
So a surprisingly good amount of them were definitely contacts. I heard it and I felt it. Some were definitely a lot lighter than others. Like it felt like just a little rip of paper versus a clobber.
Yeah. I got to ask you, on this track, there are 2 corners that if you're going to get 2 corners right, it's 8 and the hairpin. And you always seemed, coming out of the hairpin, to get just a little bit of an advantage, and you always seemed to get a heck of a drive coming out of 8 and get good runs. You just had those 2 corners nailed, man.
Yeah, I noticed that early on in the race too, and so that kind of helped me plan my setups for passing Josh or Nick. going into 8, you just rush to the brake and you get it perfect, and you'll get a 1 or a 2/10 run. And people want to think that they want the inside for that corner, but really I want the left. That sets me up on the inside for the next 2 corners.
Well, it showed. It was absolutely great, and watching you square up the hairpin and getting that car turned into throttle sooner. I've got to ask, in that first race, on that last lap in there, you had to glance in your mirror and go, yeah, he's not close enough to make a lunge down the inside. I'm going to make sure I get the run out of here, and then you're suddenly pointing the other direction.
Yeah, I remember going through there and thinking that exact same thing, and then as I was turning into the apex, I checked my mirrors and I'm like, he's gone. And my brain went, uh-oh. And then it happened.
Yeah, well, he did the polite thing there and just backed off and let you get going first and everything. But, man, you guys put on an incredible show in both races. Beans, a treat. And nice to see you sweep one, brother.
Yeah, that was awesome. It's a really good feeling to finally take the win. I got to thank Morgan for being on vacation for this one. But, I mean, we're racers. We can take whatever inch we can get.
Hey, always, man. Always. Absolutely. And you did, and well done.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
Thanks, Beans. Appreciate it. All right, Greg, wrapping things up from Long Beach, the streets of Long Beach, and this was a good old-fashioned street fight out there today, leaning on each other, and I think we painted the walls a couple of different shades of vinyl tonight, but all in good fun. And this is our penultimate round of the season, because next week we head to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of the premier road racing circuits and oval racing circuits in the United States, and that history goes back so far.
Yeah, I mean, from the longest running street race in North America to the Indy Speedway and the Indy road course, which, obviously you look at it, it isn't a street course, doesn't have those challenges, it's flat. So you go, all right, what does it have? It's actually a wonderful race course for road racing. And it's got lots of nuance to it, lots of tricks you have to have, and it's really, really fun. And hey, Kyle, to be honest here, if you're going to wrap up a season and decide championships, what better place to do it than a place named Indy?
It's not a bad place to do it. I had my first opportunity to watch the Indy 500 this May, but my first experience ever was watching road racing here, and I think it's a very fitting circuit. And here's some views of it. We'll be racing there next week, next Monday, Greg, to finish out the season finale for Full Send Sims. But it's been another thrilling season, and I can't wait to do it one more time.
Me either. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. One more time, a huge thanks, of course, to Court Schmidt and Full Send Sims. And remember, give a thought to that new Pro Ultimate rig. They have come up with an absolute beauty. Also, a huge thank you to 3P Logistics and Final Turn Motorsports, our presenting sponsors of the Full Send Sims second season of the Spec Miata Esports iRacing Championship. That's going to wrap things up. We wrap up the season, as Kyle said, next Monday night at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. We'll be there with you. Once again, for Kyle, I want to say a big thank you to everybody for joining us. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday from Indy.